Hello students and welcome back for another tutorial. Today we will learn about active versus passive voices and how to use them, how to differentiate them, and much more. Without further ado, let's get started with active voice. An active voice sentence is a sentence that tells us what a person or a thing does. It is a subject that performs the action, so the verb, on the object. It follows a clear sentence structure of subject plus verb plus object. For example, Anna painted the house. Anna being the subject, the verb being painted, and the house being the object. Now, let's see some more examples. Mom read the novel in one day. Also, Sue changed the flat tire. Sue being the subject, change being the verb, and flat tire being the object. Now, let's change to passive voice. Passive voices are sentences that tells us what is done to someone or something. It is the subject that is being acted upon. The sentence structure is really clear. It is object plus verb plus subject. Example, the house was painted by Anna. The house being the object, verb being painted, and the subject being Anna. Now, let's see some more examples. The novel was read by Mom in one day. Or, the flat tire was changed by Sue. The flat tire being the object, change being the verb, and Sue being the object. Tips for recognizing passive voice sentences. Passive voice sentences often have little auxiliary or little words in the sentence, such as a, are, be, being, by, has been, have been, is, was, were, and will be. If you recognize any of those little word, you have a passive voice sentence. Now, there are times when using the passive voice is useful. For example, the squirrel was chased by the dog. Now, if you want the squirrel to be the main focus of your sentence and not the dog, you would write the sentence in a passive voice. Now, we will change to how to change from passive to active voice. But first, let's use this sentence as an example. Coffee is liked by him. Step 1. Identify the subject of the sentence. The subject is him and the coffee is liked by him. Step 2. Rewrite the sentence so the subject is performing the action. He likes coffee. Now you know how to change from passive to active voice sentences. Now, did you clearly understand the differences between active and passive voices? Let's find out. Now, here are some exercises. The verb in the parentheses, you will change it so it makes sense with the sentence structure of the passive voice. Penicillin, blank by Alexander Fleming in 1928. Statements, blank from all the witnesses at this moment. Whales, blank by an international ban on whaling. Both wedding, blank by good taste. Answers, was discovered, are being taken, must be protected, and were gathered. If you answered all of them correct, good job. Now, here are some other examples of exercises. You will tell me if it's a passive or an active voice sentence. I ate a piece of chocolate. Now, if you guessed active voice, you are correct. Good job. The money was stolen. Now, remember those little keyword was. If you guessed passive voice, you are correct. Another sentence. The national anthem is being sung by Jason this time. If you guessed passive voice, you are correct. And the last one is, I will introduce you to my boss this week. If you guessed active voice, you are correct. Now, don't panic if you haven't have all of them right, because it's okay to make mistakes in life. But when do we use passive and active voices? Let me show you. Active voice. It is the most common voice use. We use them as we talk, as we explain things. Describes the subject doing the action. The verb is happening to the object of each scene. Example, I'm waiting for a phone call. She ate the cake. He's running the marathon. All of those examples, the subject is carrying the action described. Waiting, ate, and running. As for passive voice, it describes a verb being happen to the subject of the sentence. Now, don't use passive voice just because it sounds fancier. It makes the sentence long and sometimes a bit more complicated. You use it when you want to draw attention to a certain subject on the sentence. For example, the prisoners got caught by the guards. If you want the prisoner to be the main focus of your sentence and not the guard, you would write it in a passive voice sentence. A passive voice is always the appropriate form of the verb to be, plus the past participle and the rest of the sentence. Now you know how to write a passive voice sentence. Pretty easy, isn't it? Now, here are some tips and tricks. First of all, if you want to know if it's a passive or an active voice sentence, you just add by zombies. But sometimes you need to add and by zombies at the end of your sentence, and if it makes sense, a passive voice. If it doesn't make sense, it's an active voice. Let me explain to you by an example. At dinner, 6 shrimp were eaten by Harry and by zombies. It does make sense, so your sentence is passive. But if your sentence is active, it wouldn't make sense. Let me show you. Harry ate 6 shrimp at dinner by zombies. It doesn't make sense, does it? So, it's an active voice sentence. There you go. You know how to differentiate and to know really well if it's active or passive voice sentences. That's all for today, guys. I hope you guys understand more the differences and know how to use active and passive voices. Goodbye.